And on today's show, why the 7 prosperity principles will replace financial planning. Part 4 of this week's series on the new prosperity economics with registered investment advisor, Kim Butler. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and contributing author to Backroom Technician and Innsmark. Let's get down to business. Well, welcome to day 4, Kim.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, I just want to reintroduce, if you've been watching our shows, and if you just say, Steve, I'm coming into Thursday's show, I highly recommend that you go back out and watch this in succession. I think the chronology will really help your learning experience. We got a couple of books out on Amazon.com by Kim, Busting the Financial Planning Lies, which we talked about yesterday. And Kim gave us, I think, 4 or 5 of her top lies. Apparently there's many. And then her second book, Busting the Retirement Lies, which is out on Amazon.com. And her first offering, which she suggested a great marketing idea in yesterday's show. You might want to look at it on Kindle. Live Your Life Insurance, which is a really nice piece, and I think you'll appreciate it. Kim, I think you're giving away, about 100 pages of this?
Yes.
So if you want to order this, go ahead and order it right off our ULR address at the bottom of the screen, and we'll send you 100 pages. This is absolutely free. Thank you for that, Kim.
Absolutely.
Okay, Kim, let's go to it and see what we're talking about.
So this is inside the book as well, and we call this the Prosperity Ladder, and it's designed to help people understand that you start at poverty. And the only way to get from poverty to subsistence is to work. Now, okay, not everybody starts at poverty, but think about your typical kid coming out of school. They have very little income, they have expenses, and they have nothing else. And that's basically a definition of poverty. Not like the government talks about it, but poverty meaning no assets. So the only way to get from poverty to subsistence is to work, and we must work. And that's why in our other books that we talked about earlier in the week, we want to bust the retirement lies, because we feel that we need to work literally for our whole life. Maybe not 40, 50 hours a week, but the activity of work does us good. We want to be working because we're giving that way. We're making sure that we are making a difference for people, and we're getting rewarded for that. And that really just gives us a lot of juice in our lives.
And you have some math on that too, because you're saying that actually the putting a demarcation age like 65 or age 70 is actually detrimental not only to our long-term, maybe even our financial issues, but really the detrimental to our personal life.
It is.
There's some math out here on the medical view on this that is pretty big.
Absolutely. And when we think about the fact that we're probably going to live till age 100, then this idea of stopping work at 65 and living for the next 40 some years off the money that we've saved in the first 40 years, that's not mathematically possible, nor is it good for us.
Okay.
So work is what we want to do, but we want to get more than subsistence, right? Subsistence just means that everything is okay as long as everything is okay. And there's some funny stories in the Busting Financial Planning Lies book about this, because if everything's not okay, the car breaks down, the air conditioner needs replacing, the roof needs a repair, then things go haywire. That's subsistence. And so the way to get from subsistence to the next level, which is comfort, is to save. So when we start to work, if we can first start to save, and we've talked in the prior shows about the difference between saving and investing, if we can begin to save money and start to build up an asset base, then that is what will get us from subsistence to comfort. And comfort is where we are okay if everything is not okay. So subsistence is we're okay if everything's okay. Comfort says, I can lose my job, I can have a roof repair, a car repair, a what have you repair, and I'll still be okay because I have assets that I have saved. Now then the next step to truly get to prosperity is to own. We want to be in control. We want to own things. And that's one of the lies of financial planning. It's that the advisor owns or controls the money. Now, I don't mean literally owns, but they do control it. We want the control to
So
go
your issue isn't
back
really
to
so
the
much
client.
ownership. Everybody owns their own accounts. They're licensed that way. They're set up that way, labeled that way.
Yes.
Your gripe is control.
Correct.
So that issue of control, and do you think that, I'm just trying to put myself in the normal financial advisor who's watching this show right now and saying, they have control, they can do whatever they want. But you're saying that's only based on the dictates of the advisor.
That's right. And the reason we have the word own here instead of the word control, and we'll get into control later, but own here is designed to indicate that they are owning that account. They're responsible for that account. And additionally, that they might own other things like businesses or additional ways to earn money, because we feel like people need to branch out from just their earned income from a salary standpoint and maybe create a home-based business or something like that. So own is designed to indicate not only actually owning the strategies of the account and what's going on with the account, but the responsibility of that account, and additionally, potential additional ways to make
now,
income.
is there any budgeting theories here? Because when you're working, you have to get to you got to get up to the next ladder. That distance between your start date in your early 20s and getting to this place where you have some kind of subsistence and you're saving, what's the distance between them? What's that all about?
Well, really, that distance is covered by the steps of working to save. And as we all know, you're supposed to pay yourself first, but nobody ever does that. And so we want to have people actually be saving money first. So as soon as people start to work, they should start to save. Now, from a prosperity economics standpoint, we don't get heavily involved in people's budgets. We think that people should save 10 to 20% of their income and spend the rest. That's our budgeting.
When we come back from the break, we're going to get into the whole 7 principles and walk this through. I'm totally all over this. I want to see what it looks like. We'll be right back after the commercial break. It's not how much money you make for your clients, it's how much money they get to keep, especially in retirement. But retirement income could cause Social Security benefits to be taxed. One tax advantage alternative is life insurance designed as a non-modified endowment contract that can generate tax-free income without taxing Social Security benefits. These contracts offer differing funding options depending upon your client's risk tolerance. For more information on how life insurance can be part of your retirement planning, just email me at steve@downtobusiness.tv. Brought to you by Ash Brokerage, the practice enhancement company. Well, welcome back to our second segment. Of course, we're with registered investment advisor Kim Butler, author of many books, and I have to say we're going to walk through these 7 principles of prosperity. At first, I thought that was this kind of dumbed down elementary, I have to be honest with you. But I think you have some theory behind this, and let's just walk through it. 7 principles. First one is think.
Absolutely. We need to think. We need to turn our minds on. We need to be awake and alive and be thinking, not only thinking in terms of actually paying attention to what's going on, but thinking from a prosperous mindset. Because when you think from a scarcity mindset, you make different decisions than if you think from a prosperous mindset.
Well, tell me about that.
When you're thinking prosperously, you will make good decisions about your money, confident decisions. Whereas if you're in scarcity mode, you will pull back and you might not save the money or you might not invest the money that you need to because you're afraid.
So there's a tributary thought here that you have to convert yourself over to in your think idea.
Yes.
Okay. What about C? Everything's about vision. I'm a kind of a visual guy. What do you mean by that?
Well, this is C, like S-E-E, not S-E-A, and we need to see the whole picture. Financial advisors sometimes get our clients locked into just looking at their portfolio, when in actuality, it's their insurance, it's their mortgage, it's their wills and trusts. It's absolutely every single thing that's in their personal economy, and we need to see that whole picture, not just whatever the account is that's in front of us. When we look at the whole picture, we will often make better decisions. Classic one is, should I prepay my mortgage? You're looking at just the mortgage. But if you step back and you see the whole picture, you'll see that you actually have good investments out here, and that extra money should go to the investments, not to the mortgage.
Okay, so basically you're asking us to take our myopic viewpoint and use our peripheral vision, get the whole landscape.
Broaden it out.
What about measurement? Measure.
So we all measure in financial planning, but as you know, we think that financial planning is a lie. And so what we mean by measurement is to measure opportunity costs. Now, opportunity costs are a basic economic concept. You can look it up in any econ book. They're attributable to what you could have done with the money instead. So if you pay a fee for a financial advisor, that money can no longer be invested, and we must measure that opportunity cost. And the way to do that is to apply an interest rate to it. So if you have a 6% investment, then you have to take the fee that you paid to the advisor and invest it at 6% and see what it could have grown to out there in the future. That's how you measure opportunity costs.
I think people are taking it off the top. They're taking the 6% minus the 1% RIA fee and calling it a day.
Yes, and that's too individual and not broad enough, like we just talked about. You've got to look at that bigger picture and measure those opportunity costs, and that should be your goal, is to reduce the opportunity cost, not chase the higher rate of return.
Flow.
Flow. 4 is flow, and that's that we want to start looking at cash flow now, not later. A lot of financial advisors, they're trying to build net worth and then cash flow later, we need to be looking at cash flow now. So we're always, first of all, wanting our money to flow, but by flow in principle number 4, we're talking about the true measure of prosperity is cash flow, not net worth.
Okay, so cash flow is really the name of the game. And I think a little bit of our financial plan, we're kind of going that way a little bit. It looks like we're dipping our toe. Yeah. All right, now let's go to my favorite issue for you, because you're all about controlling the money. You don't want anybody to control it. You want to control it yourself.
Well, but I want the clients to control it. And when the clients control the money, then they can get the cash flow, and the advisor can still be helpful. But from the client standpoint, if they're operating with these 7 principles, and by the way, these are a great opportunity filter. So if you're having to do due diligence on a particular product, if you'll run that product through those 7 principles of prosperity, if the client can't control the money, then they are not getting the benefit of that money. And so this idea of locking money up in qualified plans and prepaid mortgages and 529 plans, that doesn't put the client in control. That puts the advisor, the institution, and the government in control. And we don't think that's helpful.
Well, that was a mouthful. I'll have to swallow and think about that and digest it. Okay, move. What's this velocity issue that you talk about?
Well, money, when it is moving, is healthy money, just like blood in our bodies. When it's moving is healthy. So we want our dollars to be moving all the time. And the typical financial planning strategy of lock it up in the qualified plan, lock it up in the 529 plan, lock it up in the mortgage, stops money dead in its tracks, and consequently it disables its ability to do good.
But let me just challenge you a little bit here, Kim. So if I take a qualified plan where I have a high tax bracket, so I love that deductible issue, but I also like that my employer is matching. And why wouldn't I not at least match up to that number?
You said it perfectly. You can contribute up to the match, but it's the dollars above that that I'm talking about.
So you're okay. You're not down on qualified plans then. For people who have high deductible, that are in a high tax bracket, their bracket's high, as well as they're getting matched, that might be okay.
It might be okay, but I do think there's a second issue that we need to look at, and that is, what are those tax rates going to be in the future? And that's a huge challenge for us today. And because we want to be having our money move in qualified plans that cannot move, we also want to have it being multiplied, which is our 7th principle, because when dollars are moving, they're doing many, many jobs. In other words, we're not just having the dollars fund our, quote, retirement in a qualified plan. We're having the dollars move through assets so that they can help us with our real estate, help us educate our children, and give us financial freedom money in the future. So these 3 really go together: control, move, and multiply. When we're controlling our money, we can move it, which then we can multiply it and get it to do lots of jobs instead of just the one save for retirement job.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Remember, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always consult your tax advisor, legal counsel, or your broker-dealer compliance officer. Missed the show? Just hop out to our video archives. And remember, you could be wiser as an educated advisor. I'm Steve Savant. We'll see you tomorrow.